From the CBS Broadcast Center in New York, welcome to this election eve edition of America Decides. I'm Ed O'Keefe. The 2024 campaign is down to its final hours, and the latest CBS News battleground tracker has the candidates still deadlocked in key states. Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump are making their final pitches at rallies in several battleground states today. Harris focused entirely on Pennsylvania, holding a star-studded rally slated for Philadelphia late tonight. Trump also in the Keystone State and heading for his final rally later in Michigan after telling supporters in North Carolina this morning that the race is, quote, ours to lose. And with nearly half of 2020's electorate, that's over 80 million people, 80 million, having already cast ballots in this race, the focus is now on those voters who are still undecided. So let us begin with just one day to go, hours left in this campaign with Aaron Navarro and Skyler Henry. Aaron is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. Skyler in Raleigh, North Carolina, two of the key East Coast battleground states. Aaron, first to you. Harris is zipping across Pennsylvania today. Why all this attention on that state, Commonwealth more specifically, in the final hours?
Ed, good to be with you. From talking to Democratic officials, they believe that the blue wall is Harris's clearest path to 270 electoral college votes. Pennsylvania, with its 19 votes, is the crown jewel. It's been the Commonwealth where Harris has been the most out of any battleground state this cycle. It's the state where you're seeing polls show it continuously tied in the last months, weeks, and days of this campaign. But another thing is that Pennsylvania, maybe compared to other battleground states, is expecting to see a large number of in-person election day voters. There are about 1 million less mail ballots requested this cycle compared to in 2020, in part because of COVID, but also showing that many voters are looking to go in person tomorrow, hit the polls, do the tradition of opening the curtain and filling out the ballot. From talking to people online here, that's something that they mentioned they wanted to do. Harris going to the bases, making sure that people know the polling hours and come out to vote is a key part if she wants to win this state.
So Allentown, Scranton, Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania there or at Philadelphia in Pennsylvania. You mentioned a blue wall, of course, that's Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, the three big ones that Biden won 4 years ago that she'd like to win as well. They'd also like to make progress, however, down in the Tar Heel state of North Carolina. Skyler, where you are earlier today, former President Trump, who's trying to hold the state, summed up his closing message like this.
And with your vote tomorrow, we're going to fire Kamala, we're going to save America, and we're going to cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices, raise your wages, and bring thousands of factories back to America and back to North Carolina.
So, Skyler, I read earlier today he held 5 rallies there in the last few days. How significant is it that he's spending so much time in North Carolina now when he was ahead there earlier in the race?
Isn't that something? I think when you take the bird's eye view of what's going on here in the Tar Heel state, that's especially interesting, especially considering the fact that Trump carried this state the last 2 election cycles. It's also interesting that this is the only battleground state of the 7 that we identify as the state that he won 4 years ago. And so for him to put so much attention here in the Tar Heel state is absolutely something to pay attention to. We were kind of at that rally earlier today in Raleigh. We saw voters out there as well. But we've also crisscrossed this state and talked to voters about what they have wanted to see in terms of out of the former president. And they talked about what he could do for them as it relates to the economy, what he could do for them as it relates to immigration, as well as other top issues. And they feel as if that is why they want to continue to support him. As it relates to the Harris-Walz ticket, they feel as if the Tar Heel state is very much in play. In fact, many within the campaign say that they are making some inroads, especially in those hot-button areas that typically go blue, right? That's here in the Research Triangle. That's what they call this area where several of these universities are, including UNC and Duke, as well as Charlotte and Western North Carolina. They feel that they are making significant progress there. But we're talking about early voting and numbers. They have shattered numbers here in this state, so much so that nearly 4.5 million ballots have already been cast. Most of those, at least up until this point, have been Republican. And so that is something that is interesting as well, Ed, especially when you take into consideration what we saw in terms of the messaging surrounding early voting back in 2020 versus what we see now in 2024. And so I think that is something that the Trump team is certainly hoping sticks as the ballots close tomorrow.
Aaron, you spoke with the mayor of Allentown, where you are, earlier today about the effect of Trump's Madison Square Garden rally on Latino voters in a city that has a considerable population of them, and is one of the reasons why both campaigns have focused on it so much. What did the mayor have to tell you?
The mayor told me, and it's something I heard from Puerto Rican voters I was talking to before the event, that it has truly galvanized Latino voters. Yes, there were already Latino voters that were following Harris and were going to support her regardless, but he says that it got some people, quote, off the couch. Take a listen to what he had to tell me.
I think the enthusiasm was already high for Vice President Harris. I think there were a lot of Latinos who weren't happy with what they were hearing coming out of the Trump campaign, and they were excited about the opportunity to elect a president that has a plan for the future. After the comments that were made at the rally at Madison Square Garden, there were a lot of, particularly Puerto Ricans, Boricuas, that were angered by the comments and motivated to get off the couch. People who might have been interested in Vice President Harris, but not necessarily sure they were going to get out to vote, they're getting out to vote now.
And here at the event, the introductory speakers, from the mayor to Puerto Rican rapper from the Bronx, Fat Joe, really mentioned that garbage island joke from the Madison Square Garden rally as a reason that voters here are going to reject former President Trump. Fat Joe said, quote, "If I'm speaking to some undecided Puerto Ricans, especially in Pennsylvania, what more do they got to do to show you who they are?" in reference to Trump and his followers.
Even Fat Joe out there on the last day of the campaign. Skyler, you spoke with the Democratic candidate for Governor, Josh Stein, as 4.5 million people have already voted in North Carolina. What did he tell you about what Harris needs to do in order to win the state tomorrow night?
Yeah, Ed, you know what's funny? This is a state that is largely known for its shades of blue, especially when you take into consideration the colleges in this area. But the governor said that this is a purple state as it relates to politics. And if you take a look at what we've seen in terms of the Republican state legislature, Republicans have been in control, at least in the state house, for some time now, though they have sent a Democrat to the governor's mansion, at least since 2017, in Governor Roy Cooper. But he said in order for Democrats to make significant progress, they have to focus on the issues. I talked about this just a little bit, the economy, immigration, but also public safety and doing a little bit better in the public schooling system. Take a listen. Given the fact that Republicans have essentially carried the state on the presidential candidate level for these last couple of cycles, how do you change that?
Yeah, well, I mean, President Trump won in 2020 by a hair's breadth, so it doesn't take much to change it, and a lot of history has occurred since that election, most notably January 6th. So we'll see what happens on the presidential level.
And I think that really just goes to show just how close this race is, razor thin. Obviously, both campaigns putting a lot of attention here in these final days before the election. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Skyler Henry talking about shades of blue, wearing shades of red and blue there in Raleigh. We thank you for that and for your reporting. Aaron Navarro, one of our road warriors who's been out there more than most in Allentown, Pennsylvania, thank you as well. Enjoy the last day out on the trail. And from coverage in the field, from Aaron, Skyler, and others, to analysis and projections made here in New York, we at CBS News are ready for Election Day 2024. Take a look at this, for example. This behind-the-scenes look at our high-tech set. We are debuting its first ever, our first ever, immersive, augmented, and virtual reality presidential election center. And you can watch Election Night with the CBS News team live from our election headquarters in New York, and with our team spread out across the country. Join us for real-time results, analysis, and exclusive polling. It all begins at 4 p.m. Eastern here on CBS News 24/7 and continues at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 in the West on the CBS television network.